Every night, it was the same. 2:17 a.m. Aaron's eyes would snap open. No alarm clock, no nightmare jolting him awake, just awake. At first, he brushed it off. Stress from work, too much coffee, the usual suspects. He'd roll over, try to coax sleep back, and eventually, it would come. But after a week of the same precise, punctual awakening, annoyance started to curdle into unease. He started tracking it. He'd go to bed at 10, at midnight, even pull an all-nighter with a pot of coffee, only to feel his consciousness reboot at exactly 2:17 a.m. One night, determined to break the cycle, he decided to stay awake. He sat up in bed, his phone in hand, watching the digital clock on his nightstand. 2:16 ticked over to 2:17, and then nothing. It stayed 2:17. He waited. 1 minute. 2:05. He refreshed the weather app on his phone. Still 2:17. He looked at the clock on his laptop. 2:17. A cold knot tightened in his stomach. This wasn't just a sleep pattern. This was something else. He got out of bed, his heart thumping a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He crept to the window and pulled back the curtain. The world outside was a perfect, silent photograph. A car was frozen mid-turn at the intersection, its headlights cutting static beams through the darkness. A lone figure walking a dog was stopped, one foot raised in an impossible statue. The leaves on the tree outside his window were motionless, not even a whisper of a breeze. Everything, absolutely everything, was frozen in time. Only he could move. He was a ghost in a still life painting. He walked through his apartment, the silence so profound it was almost a sound in itself. The faucet in the kitchen, which had been dripping, now held a single, perfect droplet suspended in midair. He felt a surge of panic, a desperate need for some sign of life, of movement, of normalcy. He went back to his bedroom, his eyes drawn to the glowing screen of his phone, which he'd left on the nightstand. It vibrated, the buzz unnaturally loud in the dead quiet. A single notification had appeared on the screen, from an unknown number. His hand trembled as he picked it up. The message was just 3 words, stark and white against the black screen. Time loop active. His blood ran cold. A loop, like in a movie. He stared at the message, his mind racing, trying to make sense of the impossible. Before he could process it, another message buzzed through, right below the first. Stay still to reset. Stay still. What did that mean? Like the people outside, he was supposed to just stand here, a statue in his own bedroom, and wait. For what? For time to start again? No, he refused. This was his reality, his life. He wasn't going to be a pawn in some cosmic game. He tossed the phone onto the bed, a defiant surge of adrenaline washing over him. He wasn't going to stay still. He was going to figure this out. He strode out of his bedroom, down the hall, his footsteps echoing unnaturally. He was going to go outside, touch the frozen world, prove to himself this was real. As he reached for the front doorknob, he noticed something out of the corner of his eye, a shadow in the living room, near the armchair. It stretched, elongating in a way that defied the static light from the street lamp outside. He froze, his hand hovering over the doorknob. He watched, mesmerized and terrified, as the shadow detached itself from the armchair. It wasn't a normal shadow anymore. It had depth, a thick, inky quality, and it began to coalesce, pulling itself together, rising from the floor like black smoke. It had no features, no face, but he felt an intelligence there, an ancient, malevolent awareness that was now focused entirely on him. Then, he heard it. A soft, wet, rhythmic sound. Thump-thump. It was coming from the walls. He looked over, and his breath caught in his throat. The floral patterned wallpaper was breathing. The walls of his apartment were gently, horribly, expanding and contracting, like the ribcage of some colossal, unseen beast. The entire building was alive. His defiance evaporated, replaced by a primal, gut-wrenching terror. He scrambled back, away from the door, away from the rising shadow, his eyes darting around the living, breathing room. The frozen world outside suddenly seemed like a sanctuary. He wanted it back. He wanted the silent, still, safe prison of 2:17 a.m. Stay still to reset. The words screamed in his head. He had to reset it. He squeezed his eyes shut and forced his body to go rigid, mimicking the statues outside. He held his breath, praying for this to work, for the loop to restart, to give him another chance. He stood there for what felt like an eternity, every muscle screaming, the sound of the breathing walls filling his ears. Slowly, the sound began to fade. The feeling of being watched by the shadow dissipated. He dared to hope. Maybe it worked. Maybe he was safe. He kept his eyes closed, waiting just a few more seconds. His phone buzzed again on the bed in the other room. He knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, what it would say. He had to look. He opened his eyes. The walls were still. The shadows were normal. He took a shaky step towards the bedroom and peered at his phone screen. One new message. You were not supposed to wake up. And then, the world blinked. His eyes snapped open. He was in his bed. The room was dark, silent, and blessedly normal. A wave of relief so powerful it almost made him sick washed over him. It was a dream, a horrifying, vivid, terrible nightmare. He laughed, a shaky, breathless sound. Just a dream. He rolled over to check the time, to ground himself in reality. The red digital numbers on his clock glowed back at him. 2:17 a.m.